Hey folks, welcome back. Like I said, my name is Joe Pressure. I own Meadow Oaks Ranch here in Cameron, North Carolina. We're a direct-to-consumer beef, pork, and chicken company. Today, we're talking about property. The first thing we need to know about property is where we want to buy, right? The second thing we need to know is who's going to help us do this, especially if we've got no experience. We need help, professional help, good realtor, okay? Third thing we need to know is, does it have the essentials that we need in order to create the homestead, ranch, or farm that we're looking for, right? I'm talking topography of the land, abundance of water, shelter for the animals, mature growth trees if you're not building shelters for those animals so they can get in out of the weather, and good fertile soil that you can establish good grass on to sustain your herd. So the first thing you need to know before buying a property is, what's your budget, right? If you're an active duty guy like me, you can use a VA loan. We use the construction of VA perm package to purchase a large chunk of land in Cameron, North Carolina. So the first thing we need to know, right? How much money do we have to work with? If you're an active duty guy or gal, you need to check out the VA loan. The VA loan has a special clause or a special purpose loan called a construction to VA perm. A mentor of mine actually educated me about this, and that's what we went with to purchase a large property and build a new home on this property. So first thing you need to do, get with somebody more knowledgeable than you, especially if this is your first time buying property or a home. Pick their brain. If you're an active duty soldier, look at the construction loan. It's a construction to VA perm through the VA. You can buy a large amount of land, but you have to build a house that is a certain percentage of the land value. That's one of the stipulations. So once we know how much we're approved for, we need to hire or look for a good friend that has more experience in finding the property that we're looking for than we do, okay? What I mean is by finding a realtor. So I was fortunate enough, my mentor that I was working with was teaching me about the finance portion about buying a property and building a house. He happened to know a really good realtor in the Moore County area. Her name is Amethyst. She works for / partly owns Heritage Realty Group. So we got in touch with her, and the next thing we did was sit down and talk with her about the next thing we're talking about. What are we looking for in property? So we sat down with Amethyst and we talked about what we're looking for in property. I told her that I was looking for at least 20 to 25 acres at least. I was really looking for pasture, but I wasn't afraid of a cutover portion or a forest portion. I would log it. I'd put the sweat equity in to build what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that we had good road frontage and we had water on site or easily accessible to water, where I wasn't drilling to China to create my well out here. Okay, so the third thing that you need to know when starting this venture is you need to know how to be patient, okay? It's real easy to get caught up in the fever of looking, making decisions quickly. You need to exercise tactical patience and really listen to your realtor and lean on them. They understand the process more than you do. If it's a good deal, if it's something that you should be considering, lean on their expertise. So once your realtor has found a few properties, the next thing you got to do is you got to go out there with a realtor and you got to walk the property, okay? So go walk the properties. First thing that I look for when looking at property is road frontage and accessibility to the property, right? I'd like to have at least 500 to 1,000 feet of road frontage and a clear path to or through the property. Nothing crazy that I've got to go through just in case my wife needs to come help me do chores. You know, she doesn't drive a four-wheel drive truck like I do. She can get in and out of these driveways or the laneways easily with a all-wheel drive or an SUV or a compact car type of deal. So that's something that I think about immediately when walking the property as soon as I get out the door. So I step out the door, I look at the road frontage and the accessibility. I'm coming in, I'm looking at soil quality as soon as I go in. I'm looking at if there's standing water, if there's low ground, if there's high ground. I prefer there to be a mixture of both. Definitely looking for some low ground with some water in it. So if I've got to build a water source for my animals, it's just an easier thing for me to do instead of having to drill to China to find water and then pump said water through a water line that you run down your homestead, farm, or ranch in order to get those animals water. The next thing that I'm looking for is mature growth trees, some kind of protection for those animals, because in your early stages of building your homestead, farm, or ranch, you're probably not going to buy the property, build the house, and immediately start building all these shelters for your animals, right? So look for some good, old growth forest that you can pasture out, and those animals can get in out of the cold, out of the weather, out of the rain. They can have some kind of protection from the elements. That's the next thing I'm looking for. The very next thing I'm looking for is soil quality. So hopefully there's good quality soil and I don't have to do a lot of work to establish the pastures. If you're not afraid of putting sweat equity into the property that you might get a good deal on, you can change that. It's just going to take time and a little bit of money to do that. Next thing I would think that you should probably consider is how much effort do you want to put into this property to create what you want, right? I think a big factor on that is what kind of deal you get on the property. If you can get a really good deal on the acreage and it is already heavily forested or old growth stuff, I would take that chance on that property, right? So the first thing you can do is you can log that forest, clear cut it for whatever pasture you want to build. Or if you want to just do a forest management plan, you can thin it out, create your house and stuff, and kind of start working pastures, a couple acres at a time. If you're not afraid of some sweat equity, I wouldn't worry about a forested lot, right? You can definitely make it happen. We made that happen here. We bought a 10-year cutover. It was clear cut 10 years ago. So when we came in here, it was all scrub brush. There was trees up to 8 inches in diameter, everything ranging from scrub oak to sweet gum and a lot of holly trees. Oh man, this place is full of holly trees when we bought it. So I saw the potential in this place and I got it for a really good deal. So we went with it and we put a lot of sweat equity in it to create what we did here. So if you can get a property for a good price, don't be afraid of the work. You can do it. It may take a little extra time, but it'll be worth it in the end. So the next thing you guys want to think about and consider is your neighbors, right? How close your neighbors are. Can you see them? Can you hear them? Is it going to be a nuisance? Go and introduce yourself to your neighbors. See if they're good people. See if you think you can live by them for the next, couple decades, if that's what you're planning to do. It's worth the time investment to see what kind of neighbors you have, right? So we got lucky here. We've got old growth all the way around. We pretty much are encapsulated by this capsule of large old growth hardwoods and longleaf pine down here. So we've got a great opportunity to what we've got. You would never know what we have back here is back here unless you drive through the driveway. So check on your neighbors, see if they're too close for comfort or if they're just right. If they're good people, if you think you can live by them for the next couple of years, then that's probably a good thing. You should probably consider that property. So now that you've gone up and down the property, you've found a lot of good things that you like, or you found things you dislike, you need to go back with your significant other and decide on, hey, can we see ourselves here? Is it a good price? Do we think we're ready for this commitment? And once you do that, let your realtor know, right? As soon as the realtor knows, she'll discuss with you what kind of offer you want to put on the place. And then it's on them from there. Hopefully your offer is accepted and you guys could get into your brand new property and start your homestead, ranch, or farm. It's really not a difficult process. I say that now that I know how to do it, but this video should definitely explain the easy way to get into it. It's really not difficult if you follow those steps. you need a budget. You need to know what you're pre-approved for. If you're going to build on the property, if you're an active duty service member, you can get the construction to VA perm, right? And you can purchase X amount of property, and then you'll have to build a certain percentage of that property's worth home in order for that loan to work. And then you need a realtor. That way you can find the property. And you should probably have a mentor. That way you can kind of fact check each other / bounce ideas off them. They're a good sounding board. And then you've got to be patient, right? You've got to be patient. You've got to wait for the good deal to come. It will happen. It may take years. Brittany and I looked for a few years before we found exactly what we wanted, or we were really prepared to jump into it. And it was time well spent. We looked at a lot of nice places, but this place showed up on our radar. Thank you to Amethyst. Thank you to the Mabus General Contracting team for helping us find this property. This was a true gem. We got a smoking deal on it. Yes, it took us a lot of sweat equity. It took me almost 2 years to do what I wanted here, and it's still evolving, right? Every farm, ranch, or homestead evolves. It's always evolving here, and we're going to keep doing it, right? Setting up, now that you've bought the property and your house is built, setting up your farm, ranch, or homestead, right? Most every place is going to start out as a homestead unless you're married into money and you've got a crap load of it to just make liquid and spend, right? I didn't have that. I'm an active duty soldier member of the United States Army, so I didn't have a whole lot of money. I did save up quite a bit. So the easiest way to start your homestead, as that's how we started, was we started putting T-posts in the ground, and we got some animals that would help us clear the property. We bought some pigs, we bought some goats, and we had chickens here. Some things that would turn a profit and at least keep fuel in my John Deere 450 crawler that I used to clear the property with. It at least paid for the fuel in that thing. So the best thing you can do is start small and continue to scale, right? Let your farm, ranch, or homestead cash flow itself. The things that you don't want to do is invest in a lot of brand new big equipment. That comes with great big payments, you know, especially if you're doing a lot of work with it and you're beating it hard, it's gonna break. That's the one thing that you can guarantee with equipment is it will cost money to keep it going, and it will break no matter what. So you got to consider that stuff in your calculations and how you're spending your money that you do make. So it can be done. Start small. Start with stuff or animals, livestock that aren't extremely expensive. And if they happen to die, you know, you're not out of $2,000 for one cow. You know, you can recover from that easily. Chickens are a great way to start. Everywhere is looking for, you know, fresh pasture-raised chicken eggs. We were selling 12 dozen a week. When we first bought this place, we were selling a lot of chicken eggs. And this was right before COVID started. So you can imagine how easy it was to sell that stuff once COVID got in the full swing of things and we had a lot of chickens and we were just pumping eggs. It got real easy to sell those. It got real easy to sell the pasture-raised pork. The goats, unless we found some people that really wanted the meat goats, we ended up just taking those to the local livestock market and selling those on the free market as they continued to multiply, as they do. We did earn some revenue from that, and that was able to sustain us and keep us clearing this property and building what we built today. So there you have it. There's my list of things that you need to know before you go and even look to buy your first property for a homestead, farm, or ranch. I hope you guys like this stuff. If you guys like it and you haven't yet, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends, send it to your friends and family. We'd love for them to know, especially people that are looking to get into this kind of an ordeal, start a farm, start a ranch, or a homestead, some things that you need to know. My particular case is kind of sensitive to the North Carolina region, but it works pretty much the same anywhere else. too easy to figure that stuff out, especially if you go from the guidelines that I talked about and you've got a good mentor and a good realtor. So keep grinding. Thank you guys for watching the video. We hope to see you soon.